We're back. We're back. So sorry about that. Had to end that stream. Hopefully everybody here can find us. But hey, it happens. It's live. It's the internet. It's kind of a little bit of life, right? I mean, that's the stuff that
Right.
goes on. In fact, Bev and I were talking about this prior to starting, and I said when I was doing the summit back in March, it felt like every morning somebody was coming in and yelling plot twist. So here we have our own little plot twist. All right. Um, so I know that some of you, I see Dale has come in. You're getting a private show. This should be. Um, okay, people. There we go. People are making it back. Okay, I'll edit. That's the nice part. That's the nice part about live video or about uh
Reruns.
exactly. You can edit this out. Absolutely. So hang on just a second, Bev. Let me
Yep.
make sure that she's got it. Um, because I don't want anybody to know this is because it's such a good book. That's the whole thing. Is there are just so many sections of this book that are great. So all right, so people are coming back in. So Bev, I want to go to one of the fun parts that you talk about in the book is you use a lot of great
Facts.
analogies. Hi, Doug. That's I got to give a few props to Doug too because it's Doug and Bev who introduced me to pickleball. So, um, and Doug's a writer as well in the family. We will definitely talk about that and mention him too. Um, because they're both writers. It's not just Bev, and this isn't the first book. I'll tell you about that in a second. But what I want to, you use some great analogies to talk about some of the mistakes that people are making on the pickleball courts. And one of my favorites, I've got a couple, is dancing. So why don't you tell us about the dancing analogy?
Sure. Well, obviously, pickleball requires a lot of the right kind of moves on the court, being in the right place at the right time. And so often you hear on another court, or maybe even on your court, you hear one partner yelling to the other partner, move up, move up, move up, move to the kitchen, move up. They're always yelling that. And obviously it's not working. You can yell and yell, but if your partner's not getting it, maybe you need to use a different image to let it sink in. So I thought about dancing. Most people like to dance. So think about when you serve, you're at the baseline, behind the baseline, you have 1 foot forward a little bit, you execute your serve, you move your back foot to your front, plant yourself for the return of serve, and then you boogie up to the kitchen line because that's where you want to be after the first 2 shots. And once you get at the kitchen line, it turns into a line dance because you're moving back and forth, sidling with your partner to cover the whole court and not keep, cover any gaps when one player is pulled off court. So I see it as a boogie and a line dance. And maybe if you start talking like that to someone who's not moving up, it'll be more fun. They'll get a mental image of where they should be and what they need to do, and it could work. You have to say things differently if you're not getting through. Just yelling, move up, or move to the kitchen line doesn't do it. So that's where the dance came from.
Because that is definitely one of people's pet peeves is when other people don't move to the kitchen line. Now you have another great one in here because all of you know that I love pickleball, but skiing is truly is near and dear to my heart as well. I'm not going to break your heart by saying I actually love it more. I don't know that I love them more. No, I love them pretty equally. It's a very nice balance. But you also have an analogy in the book about skiing and pickleball. And so tell me how that connected for you. Tell
Well,
everybody about that.
it was kind of the same thing about if something isn't working, you need to hear it differently. That happens to me a lot in golf. I lose my swing it goes awry for a while. And my husband keeps telling me, put your weight on your back foot, put your weight on your back foot, or something like that. And it doesn't work for me. I'm not getting it. He needs to come up with a different way of describing things. We used to ski a lot, and I took endless lessons to learn to conquer the moguls. That was my big challenge. And I never really got it until one instructor in Killington, Vermont one winter used a description of feeling your knees like bed springs, and they need to bounce like bed springs up and down on the moguls, on the hills. That did it for me. That image gave me a visual that worked for me, and I never had a problem with it after that. I knew what to do. I knew what it should look like and what it should feel like. So I'm all for using different words and images to get people to find their own way of what works for them, how they learn. That's all it was.
Awesome. So we do have a question coming back because when the first part one froze, when part one froze, you had talked about communication, outballs, and then everybody's hanging on number 3 because that's when you froze. So nobody knows what the 3 things were. So tell us what number 3 is again.
Well, it's kind of funny and fortuitous because the third one you're all waiting for is patience. Pickleball is a game of patience, and the players that don't wait for the right opportunity to hit a winning shot usually lose, make errors first. So many players are just too impatient. They hit the ball before their timing is off, and they hit it too soon or too late. Or they try to turn a winner out of what should be a defensive shot, not an offensive shot. So it's really all about feeling comfortable letting the volleys go back and forth, letting the rallies go for a while, just putting a ball in play until you get the right opportunity to hit a winner. Patience.
There we go. And I don't know about anybody else, but when it comes to like computer stuff going wrong, let's just keep hitting more buttons, right? Zero patience there.
I get it.
So there is a section in the book that I want to talk about because this is again, there are several of these little tips on the blog. So make sure you come on over and see. You're always going to see my picture with Bev on the blog. But there was a one that you and I talked about, and it was such a great conversation because we talked about it's a word for the bounce. It's a section that's in Bev's book. She really opened my eyes when we had this conversation. So why don't you first tell us a little bit about that and kind of how you came to that realization, because I think it's super important.
Sure. Any instructors I've had, any coaching, any books, any tip lines, they all say, take the ball in the air whenever you can. And it makes sense because the main purpose is to speed up the game. Don't give your opponent a chance to, take time with their shot. Faster the game, the more opportunities there are to hit winners. But I'm not a big slammer. And for me, yes, if you let the ball bounce, it gives your opponents more time to react to what you're going to do. But it also gives you more time to plant a devious shot, to plan where you want to hit the ball, and to even put a bit of a disguise on it. So for me, letting the ball bounce when you're, mid-court, when you're just behind the kitchen line a little, gives me a lot more opportunities to do more with the ball. I almost always plant a winner when that happens, just a sidearm short winner, because the other people have been waiting so long for the ball to come back. They're kind of set in their stance. They can't react as quickly because they've been waiting. So It's faster for you, but it's faster for them when you volley. If you slow it down, you get more chance as well. I think it works. For me, it works.
Perfect. And so to see the whole discussion, it is over on the website. And I think it's under the bounce. So you will see that section. It's under rules and tips. And again, you can go to betterpickleball.com. That is where you will find it. So momentum. Now we are really easy. We see momentum when you watch a game. You can see the momentum change between team to team. That's pretty easy to see. But I think you have a fairly unique observation on momentum and how it impacts a single team. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that one?
Sure. Well, I'm envisioning you're in a dinking rally, you and your partner, and maybe it's a cross-court dinking, and you're the one who's hitting the ball back and forth with the opponent who's opposite you at an angle. And during a dinking rally, you try to pull the other opponent wider off the net or get as close and low to the net as you can. And it's going back and forth, and your partner is supposed to be sidling with you back and forth to keep coverage on the court, but your partner is getting impatient and he wants in. And when a ball comes between you, we usually say that the forehand player takes a shot. But if it's your backhand, but you're the one that's been in the moment, you're the one who's been going back and forth, you want to stay in the moment. You want to stay active and take balls that would otherwise normally be taken by your partner because you're in the moment. Your feet are light, your eyes are alert, you're in the action, you're hyped up, and you're the one who should keep it going. When your partner prematurely jumps in because they're getting bored, they want in and they want in on the action, it usually leads to a team mistake. So I like to say, when you're in the moment of momentum, keep control of the ball yourself, even if it starts invading your partner's territory, until it's obviously so far out of your reach that your partner takes it.
Just another little word, right, is patience. Patience on on the partner side. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now,
right.
And I got to tell you, if you have any questions, please make sure you go ahead and put those in the box. Put a Q or the word question in front of it. I'm guessing that many of you haven't read the book yet, and if you're interested in the book, it's a great book. It's you can go to betterpickleball.com/pickleball book is where you can find it. In fact, you can find all of Doug and Bev's books there. We're going to talk about those in just a second, because there's a lot of writing. That not only is there a lot of pickleball playing going on in that house, there's a lot of writing that's been going on in that house. When we were talking about, because this book is, it's such an easy read, because it really is just nice little sections like Bev talked about. One of the things that we talked about was dinking versus slamming. And I mentioned that earlier in the year, I think it was January, February, I had the top 10 pet peeves. I did those on a live show, and this was, I don't remember the exact number, but this was right up there. So you address that in the book. Tell us a little bit about that, Bev.
Well, we have a lot of bangers on our courts, and everyone is supposed to know that pickleball, where most of the points are won, are at the kitchen line in a dinking rally. And I see, I look at golf in a similar way. In golf, they talk about driving for show and putting for dough. And I see pickleball as slamming for thrills and dinking for skills. So they're similar things. You know, more can go wrong in the thrill and the show shots, but points are won in the putts and the dinks.
That is true, right? Drive for show, putt for dough. Patience. People want to play longer points, right? Wait for a great
Yeah,
opportunity
yeah.
to put a ball away. So now you talked about this kind of early on, that you're the link for our pickleball club in terms of the USAPA places to
Mm-hmm.
play, and you cover etiquette inside of the book. So this is a great book to maybe get for somebody who could use a little etiquette, or somebody who's new to pickleball, because she does talk about that in the book. But when you go to visit a place, right? You're gonna play pickleball. You're is somewhere else. What are some of the things that you wish people knew or practiced in terms of etiquette?
Well, just, ask. Most venues are pretty friendly. And the first friendly face you see, ask, what's the custom here? I'm just visiting. I'm new. How do I get into a game? Do you have different levels? Give me a chance to join you and set me up. Um, Asking instead of hanging back and trying to figure out what the game is here is easy enough to do. And as I said, most venues are pretty friendly. Um, Always stop playing when a ball enters a court. Any venue should have that rule. No one wants to be injured, so you know, just take care and stop play. Um, You should ask ahead of time if they provide water nowadays with COVID. We don't have community water jugs anymore, and it gets pretty hot out there at high altitude or not. It's summertime, and hydration is so important. So be sure to bring water if you're going to a new area, because you don't know what they'll provide. Um, just look good and feel good, and you'll play well, and you'll be welcomed.
Okay, so that water tip leads us into some safety, because you cover safety in the book as well. And unfortunately, I mean, not unlike I mean, we've had our share of broken limbs, and things have happened
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
the pickleball court. So the weather's warming up now. It's even warm for us here. We're in the mountains, so we're not typically super warm, but it's definitely getting warm here. Besides the water, what are some of the other suggestions in looking at safety that you have for people when they come to the courts?
Well, people do fall, and you need to learn how to fall. Most falls occur because people reach too far instead of bending their knees. So, bending your knees, learning to bend your knees is so important in pickleball. Um, and when you do fall, you need to get into the fetal position. You need to curve your body and roll to protect your head. What I say in the book, that falling head over heels is fine for romance, but in pickleball, you have to rock and roll. That's how you protect the important part, most important part of your body, your head. We have players with, knee replacements, shoulder replacements, hip replacements, but you can't replace your head, and you don't want to go down that way. Um, so curling, learning how to fall is very important. Even more important is keeping those knees bent, keeping your core directly above your knees, and preventing falls. I'd say that's the biggest thing.
And I didn't put her up to that. She practices what she preaches. She goes and she works out. She takes care of her body, and being fit is going to keep you playing longer. Because I'm not going to tell you how many birthdays Bev had, but like 2 days ago, happy birthday! Bev just had a birthday, and I'm going to tell you, she looks. I told her that day on her birthday that I hoped, when I got to be her age, that I look and am as active as she is. So happy birthday to you.
Thank you, dear.
Now, one of the things that you talked about, and I love this, in her book, Bev uses all these little quips. And they're all titled for the subject. I have to ask you, do you have a favorite? If so, what is it?
Well, I've always liked it at the toes, not the nose. There are a bunch, but I must admit I was laughing to myself when I put the header, "Who's the proctologist?" near the beginning of the book. I was talking about all the interesting people you meet on pickleball courts, and when you're sidelined waiting for a turn, to rotate into a game, start talking to people, find out what they do or did in their careers, and you'll be amazed at the breadth of variety of people. And uh, who's this proctologist was kind of just a joke to find out what everyone does, but I laughed at that for a while.
Awesome. We have a question from Dale, and Dale wants to know, because we were talking safety, right? She wants to know if you wear glasses on the pickleball courts.
I always wear sunglasses. If I were out there on a real cloudy day and thought the sunglasses were a hindrance, I would probably be prodded by my husband to put on a pair of safety goggles, which we do have available for loan in the lockbox next to our courts. But yes, I always wear glasses and a full hat. The brim gives you a little bit of eye protection in addition to the sunglasses.
So one of our members bought several pairs of clear glasses and donated them
Yes.
to the courts a couple of years, last year I think it was, that he did that. And I have to tell you,
Yeah.
so today, for those of you who aren't wearing glasses, today we were out playing, and I was playing with Jeannie, who, Bev knows Jeannie, and you see Jeannie on the channel all the time. She's my drilling partner. And I hit a ball that clipped the net tape. I was coming pretty fast. It was a drive from the baseline. It clipped the net tape, and Jeannie went to readjust her paddle to go to the new position that the ball was moving to, and the ball hit the top of her paddle and went right up into her glasses. And I mean, it scared her. It was coming hard. and she was
I
like,
imagine.
yeah, and she was like, wow, what happened? I mean, she had no idea how the ball got into her field of vision. I mean, it happens that much. So I am a big advocate for goggles. And I think Dale was asking recommendations. Those are the goggles that we have on hand, actually, I think are made by Head.
I think
They're made by Head, but Gearbox also has some great goggles. And back during the summit, we did a live with the owner of Gearbox, Raphael Filippini, and he talked all about all of the different lenses and all those kinds of choices, and why safety goggles are important to begin with, why you want to be wearing them. So yes, we are big advocates for safety goggles. So now, gotta talk about, this is not the first book you wrote, and I mean, and I gotta give Doug a little plug here too, because you are not the only author in the Kyle family. Okay, I mean, this is kind of like a prolific group. So tell us a little bit about that whole scenario, about both of you and the writing, and what the two of you have been doing, because you've been doing a lot more than just pickleball.
Well, that's true. I've always enjoyed writing. I consider myself the writer in the family, whereas I consider Doug to be the storyteller, the entertainer. So my books are always nonfiction. I need a real subject, and then I can put nice words around them, like my pickleball book and like the books I have out about rescue animals and pets. Doug has an incredible imagination, and he just creates from whole fabric full-length novels, and then we collaborate on fine-tuning them and getting them just right so that a reader can follow his vivid imagination and still have a very cogently told story. So we're a good team, and we have, in fact, yesterday, the day after my birthday, Doug's latest novel just became available on Amazon.com. It's called Killdeer. So his are, again, very entertaining, a little bit of high tech sometimes, medical issues, legal. good thriller stories. My first of all of us, of all the books we have together, the first one was my Diary of a Dumpster Pup book, which is a journal of the 10 weeks I spent raising an abandoned puppy from being hours old to 10 weeks. And it's full of photos and really heartwarming descriptions of how we grew up together and evolved day to day for 10 weeks. And at the time that these newborn puppies were found in a dumpster in South Lake Tahoe, it became local news, obviously. So during the process, I wrote weekly newspaper articles about the diary of the dumpster puppies. And they were so popular, and I got so much feedback from them that people kept pressing me to write a book. You should write a book about it. And that's what started us on this tangent. So I finally said, okay, I will. And I wrote the Dumpster Pup book, and we published that. And people of all ages, families, children really enjoy it. That led to another pet book when I went on a rescue mission to Louisiana following the 2017 hurricanes in Texas and Miami area. We rescued 100 dogs and cats and brought them from New Orleans to northern Nevada and rehomed them. So that was a pretty heartwarming, successful, and interesting and challenging journey. And I wrote about that again with a lot of photos. And then my pickleball book just recently.
So you can catch all of those books, not just Bev's. Doug's books are on there as well. We would have him on, but this is a pickleball show, and the only one in the family to this point in time who has written the pickleball book is you.
That's right.
And I truly do recommend, I will tell you this, they are talented writers. They are very talented writers. But if you are, as Bev said, this is, for really beginning through advanced social players, you are going to get some kind of insight out of this. This is also a great gift if you've got somebody who just started playing pickleball or who you would like to play pickleball. Pick up a copy and send it to them. And again, you can go to, Dale put it in the chat, but it's betterpickleball.com and /pickleball book. That is where you will find it. So Bev, I wanted to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and
my pleasure.
to spend it here. You are awesome. And I love you dearly, you and Doug. And thank you for introducing me to this great game. It has definitely
You bet.
changed my life. If you'd asked me, CJ, are you going to have a pickleball business? I would say, what?
Yeah.
So
and thanks for the golf lessons along the way too.
Yeah, still do a little bit of that, right? That's how we initially met, is we play golf. So sports are amazing things. We play golf, we love animals, but thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so Bev is awesome. This book is fantastic. As I said, if you've got a beginner in your life, or if you're not a great social player, she has some really fantastic observations. And I didn't get a chance to ask her that question. I know she wasn't a racket sports player beforehand, but she's got some great observations to be able to really help anyone. Don't forget, coming up, I've got a couple lives. First Monday or first Tuesday of every month, we'll be having a live. But don't forget, this Saturday, make sure that you have hit the subscribe button so you know when that video goes live. I'm going to be talking to Dr. Sarah Webb. It actually is a recorded video. I'm talking to Dr. Sarah Webb, who is a pathologist, and she's going to talk to us about playing safe pickleball. And I know that there's still a lot of concerns out there, and she's got some great information for you. And some of the information has changed, like from the original USAPA guidelines. There are a few things that she thinks are different, and that's what she included in the Seattle Park and Rec guidelines. So make sure that you tune in for that, because you know what I always say. I always say to you, together we can train smart, live bold, and age well. Bye, everybody.